Snow was falling steadily over the quiet little town of Silver Creek, Colorado. Streetlights glowed like lonely stars, and the wind blew in long, icy breaths as Emma Carter walked home after a 14-hour shift. Her dark green winter jacket was thin, old, and patched at the sleeves, but she pulled it tight around herself as she held her 6-year-old son Jake's hand. Jake's red hoodie wasn't nearly warm enough, but Emma had no other choice. Money was short, bills were late, and December had only begun. Emma worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, just to keep them fed. She didn't complain. She never had. Single mothers rarely had the luxury to complain. As she crossed the empty road, headlights flashed behind her. A drunk driver swerved too close, hitting the back of Emma's old car with a loud thump before speeding away. Emma gasped and froze. Jake clung to her, frightened. She checked the car quickly, nothing major, just a dent, but her heart pounded. A moment later, another vehicle slowed to a stop, a black luxury SUV. The window rolled down, and a calm, steady voice said, "Are you both okay?" It was Mark Dalton, billionaire, tech founder, a man whose name everyone in the state knew, yet here he was, stepping out into the cold like any ordinary stranger. Emma hesitated. She never trusted rich men. Rich people didn't understand her world. But Jake was shivering, her hands were shaking, and Mark looked genuinely concerned. "Let me give you a ride home," he said softly. "It's freezing and your son needs warmth." For a long second, Emma searched his face for any hint of arrogance or pity, but all she saw was sincerity. She nodded reluctantly. Inside the SUV, the heat felt like heaven after the biting cold outside. Jake sat between them, slowly relaxing. Mark drove with quiet confidence, occasionally glancing over at Emma. "You work late," he said gently. "2 jobs," she answered. "A mom doesn't get days off." Mark smiled a little, not out of humor, but out of admiration. "That takes real strength." Emma shrugged, trying not to let anyone see how tired she truly was. When they reached her house, Mark stepped out and helped Jake carry a small bag. As soon as Emma opened the door, cold air rushed out, colder than outside. The heater had died 2 weeks ago. She hadn't had the money to repair it. Jake curled up on the couch under a thin blanket. Mark looked around the freezing room with disbelief. "Emma, your boy can't stay in this cold," he said, his voice breaking. "It's temporary," she whispered, embarrassed. "I'll pay to fix it tonight." Emma shook her head instantly. "No, I can't accept that. I don't take charity." "It's not charity," he said firmly. "It's help. And everyone needs help sometimes." She had no reply for that. Not when she saw Jake rubbing his tiny hands together, trying not to look cold. "Come stay at my lake house for the night," Mark added softly. "It's 5 minutes away, safe, warm." Emma froze again, confused, afraid, unsure. But the sight of Jake's shaking shoulders made the decision for her. She finally nodded. Mark's lake house was beautiful, warm, filled with a kind of quiet peace Emma hadn't felt in years. A stone fireplace flickered with golden light, and for the first time that night, Jake smiled. Mark sat on the carpet with him and helped him build a Lego truck. Emma watched from the sofa, her heart aching in ways she didn't understand. After Jake fell asleep in a guest room, Emma and Mark sat near the fireplace. The flames cast soft shadows across their faces. "You said you worked 2 jobs," Mark said gently. "Where's his father?" Emma looked down. "Gone. He walked out when Jake was 2. Said family life wasn't for him. I've been carrying everything alone ever since." Mark leaned forward. "That's a lot. You're stronger than you think, Emma." She blinked, surprised by the emotion in his voice. No one had seen her strength before. People only saw her struggle. They talked until the fire turned to embers. At some point, Mark realized he was smiling, genuinely smiling, for the first time in months. Emma realized she felt safe for the first time in years. Morning came quietly. Snow lay heavy in the backyard, sparkling under the rising sun. Jake ran outside laughing, leaving little footprints everywhere. Mark watched him with a soft smile, hands in his coat pockets, looking less like a billionaire and more like a man who had finally found something meaningful. Emma stood at the doorway, watching Mark watch her son. Something about the picture made her chest tighten, not in fear but hope. Later, when the heater repairman finished at her home, Emma packed Jake's tiny backpack. She thanked Mark, trying to keep everything simple, clean, distant. "We should go," she said. "You've done enough." Mark didn't step aside. He didn't want to. "Emma, I don't want this night to be the last time I see you. Emma froze. Her breath caught. Mark, you live in a different world, she whispered. A world I don't belong in. Mark shook his head. Then let me walk into yours. Emma didn't know what to say. No one had ever said something like that to her. Not with sincerity, not with respect. She left anyway, overwhelmed. Hours later, just as she was making tea in her tiny kitchen, a knock sounded at the door. Emma opened it, and there stood Mark again. Snowflakes on his coat, holding a small toy truck for Jake. I'm not here to save you, he said, voice low and honest. I'm here to stand beside you. Jake ran forward and hugged Mark's legs. Emma stood still, tears filling her eyes. She didn't stop them this time. She stepped aside and whispered, Come in. Mark smiled, stepping inside the small but warm home. Jake grabbed his hand as if it already belonged to him. For the first time in a long time, Emma didn't feel alone. And for the first time in a very long time, a billionaire who had everything finally found something he had been missing all his life, a family. The heater hummed softly in the background, filling the house with warmth. But the real warmth came from the three hearts that had silently chosen each other on a cold winter night. A night that changed all their futures forever.